Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of the world, and may His peace and blessings be upon our Holy Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and his pure immaculate family. In spiritual wayfaring, the traveller is the I, and the I is the immaterial rational spirit. And by essence, this immaterial rational spirit that we can't see, has no time, no space whatsoever. But by essence, it always needs a body in order to travel spiritually, in order to act. In this world, the medium is the physical body. On death, and when we go into the realm of Barzakh, the body is the mithali soul, which isn't a physical body, but it has physical characteristics, such as size, shape, color, and so on and so forth. Now, I've spoken about these things, I think, in my last visit, so I won't elaborate on them now. What I want to concentrate on are the following questions. Can one spiritually elevate oneself in Barzakh? Is there room for further development, or do all chances and opportunities of spiritual elevation end on death? Is the I stagnant in Barzakh? And if so, does this stagnancy apply to a minority or a majority? And if there's dynamicity in Barzakh, how can we acquire it, assuming it's possible? Here, we can divide the perspectives of the scholars into three classes. The first are those who believe that there's no room for spiritual elevation in Barzakh. And it's a philosophical argument. They say since we don't have matter, evolution must acquire through matter. Elevation must acquire through matter. Since there's no matter in Barzakh, there's no room for spiritual elevation. The second view, which Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh has, is that there is spiritual elevation. And I'll be speaking on that for a few minutes. But the third view is the important view, which I want you to really think and deliberate upon. And it's a new perspective. It's by Ayatollah Sa'adat Parvar, who passed away many years ago. And he was a private mentor, private student of Allama Tabataba'i's. He has a theory, it's a very interesting theory. It has a lot of spiritual benefit and significance if we were to absorb it properly. So Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh always says, no, there is spiritual elevation. Why? Let's go through the texts. Let's go through the traditions. There are many traditions which indicate, some explicit, some not so explicit, that there is spiritual elevation according to Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh. And we'll go through these now. There's one holy tradition that states, ست خصال ينتفع بها المؤمن من بعد موته. So 6 things that will benefit the believer after the believer passes away. On death, in Barzakh, there are 6 things that benefit the believer. Ultimately, Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh says, since there's benefit for the believer in Barzakh, that benefit is tantamount to spiritual elevation. Then, the 6 are the following. وَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ مُسْتَغْفِرٌ لَهُ. Righteous offspring that seek forgiveness for their believing parents. وَمُصْحَفٌ يُقْرَأُ فِيهِ. Books that have been authored by the believer, which are of benefit to people. قَلِيبٌ يَحْفُرُ. Wells that are drilled for the benefit of people. وَغَارَسٌ يَغَرُسُ, the planting of seeds that becomes vegetation one day, that becomes trees one day, that benefits the community. صَدَقَةُ مَاءٍ يَجْرِي, providing any form of waterworks. And finally, سُنَّةٌ حَسَنَةٌ يُؤْخَذُ بِهَا بَعْدَ, if one pioneers, sponsors, finds a custom that is decent. For example, one has contributed to the building of a hospital, an orphanage, a school. These decent customs that have been pioneered or sponsored by people, this will also benefit. If these 6 are done for Allah's sake, if they're not done for Allah's sake, you'll still benefit, but that's only in this dunya. The benefit will be limited here. But if they're done for Allah's sake, to acquire His pleasure, there you will benefit in barzakh, according to these traditions. And it's not specific to these 6. Whatever benefit, whatever action you do that leads to the benefit of a person, a community, a culture, and so on and so forth, as long as the hospital's running, as long as the orphanage, as long as the school is producing, and so on and so forth, you will benefit, albeit dead. And Ayatollah Hassan says this is tantamount to spiritual elevation. The next set of traditions are those traditions that state that if a living person prays, or fasts, or executes the Hajj pilgrimage on behalf of a dead person, the rewards will assist the dead person. These are explicit traditions. The rewards will reach the dead person, and the dead person will benefit. Now a question may arise. So we have 2 people, X that is living, Y that is dead. X is doing the praying, X is doing the fasting, X is going to Hajj. Why should Y acquire any benefit? And if we were asked this question, it's a legitimate question, and they're right. And spiritually, X will be more elevated by such actions. X is the main traveler, but the radiance emanating from his actions will reach his destination, that is for the dead. But most of the rewards will go to X, the living person. But since his niyyah, his intention was for the dead, it will benefit the dead. And in some traditions, if you divide the wajib Hajj into 70 parts, the living person will receive 69 parts of the 70. Only 1 part of it will be sent to the dead. So primarily still, the living person is doing the benefiting. Another response to this question given by the scholars is that assume X and Y are both alive. In the same way that giving a X living person gives a present to another living person is both rational and decent, giving a present to a dead person is rational and decent. In the same way that giving a present to a living person makes the living person happy, in the same way you'll make the dead person happy by giving them or sending them a present. But with the dead person, they'll be much more happy. The source of delight will be much more, because they're much more in need. They're confined. Their actions are captivating them, limiting them in barzakh. They would love to receive such presents. They're much more in need. Whereas the person living is still free. They can still build their destiny. They have no limitations. Now supporting this idea are 2 traditions, 2 or 3. In one tradition, the Holy Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, states that the deceased is like the living person who is in the process of drowning and who is constantly anticipating any thread of assistance. He becomes delighted from others' supplications. Another tradition, also on the same line, by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, who said, إِنَّهُمْ يَأْنِسُونَ بِكُمْ فَإِذَا غِبْتُمْ أَنْهُمْ إِسْتَوْهَشُوا. It's concerning when you go and do ziyarah for your deceased family members, they develop this affinity towards you. And when you leave them, not necessarily from the grave, Even when you pray in your room, when you leave them though, recalling them, once you leave, they fear and they experience a lot of fear once again. They build this affinity towards you, their need towards you. And another one is where مَرَّ النَّبِي بِغَبْرٍ دُفِنَ فِيهِ بِالْأَمْسِ إِنسَانٍ. The Holy Prophet of Islam was passing by the graveyard, and he passed by a grave where the person was buried the previous day. وَأَهْلُهُ يَبْكُونَ. And the wife, for example, the family of the deceased, was crying over the grave. فقال, the Holy Prophet said, لِرَكْعَتَانِ خَفِيفَتَانِ مِمَّا تَحْتَقِرُونَ أَحَبُّ إِلَى صَاحِبِ هَذَا الْقَبْرِ مِنْ دُنْيَاكُمْ كُلِّهَا. You executing 2 units of prayer for the deceased is more valuable for the deceased than the value of this world. All of it is for you. Now, if this 2 units was of no benefit for the dead, the Holy Prophet wouldn't have instructed such a instruction. Also, another tradition from the Holy Prophet, إِنَّ هَدَايَا الْأَحْيَاءِ. Verily, the presence of the living, لِلْأَمْوَاتِ, for the dead, are الدُّعَاء وَالسِّغْفَارِ. Now, these are 2 of the primary presents that you can give for the deceased, which will benefit them more. One is praying for them, one is seeking forgiveness for them. There's a principle that the Gnostics have that states, if you want others not to forget you when you're in barzakh, don't forget those that have passed away. Now, not forgetting primarily involves this praying and doing istighfar. These are the best manifestations of not forgetting. And by istighfar, it's not just the verbal form of istighfar and seeking their forgiveness. There's a more important practical form of istighfar, where you go and sort any debts that they would have. You would go and repair their dignity if it was damaged, to sort everything out for them if they had caused any problems in the community. That's the true istighfar which is recommended. The Holy Prophet of Islam said the most burdensome of nights is the first night, that's on death. You should donate sadaqah for your deceased member. And if you can't, this means the sadaqah must be a significant sadaqah, otherwise everyone can give a dime, for example. But if you can't donate this significant sadaqah, at least pray 2 units for them. It will benefit them. On the same note, another tradition states, إِنَّ أَرْوَاحَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَأْتُونَ فِي كُلِّ لَيْلَةٍ الْجُمُعَةِ. Verily the spirits of the deceased come to you every Friday Eve. That's right now, for example, until midday tomorrow. فَيَقُومُونَ بِفَنَاءِ بُيُوتِهِمْ. And they come on the threshold, on the doorstep of the houses of their loved ones. ثُمَّ يُنَادِي كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمْ بِصَوْتٍ حَزِينٍ. And each one of them, with a voice of sorrow, will call out and say, يَا أَهْلِي وَأَوْلَادِي. O family members of mine, O children, وَيَا أَقْرَبَائِي. O relatives of mine, اِعْطِفُوا عَلَيْنَا بِصَدَقَةٍ. Show some grace upon us by means of sadaqah. وَاذْكُرُونَا. Recall us. وَارْحَمُوا عَلَيْنَا فِي غُرْبَتِنَا وَقِلَّةِ حِيلَتِنَا. And show mercy upon us. Show mercy for the loneliness and lowliness that we are experiencing here. So, the conclusion so far with this second perspective is that the living can exert an effect and or influence and benefit for the deceased, and so can the deceased's actions in the world. If he had pioneered anything which remains, as long as that action remains, that book remains, that vegetation remains, the hospital, whatever, he'll be benefiting. Okay, now we slowly want to enter the third perspective. There are some traditions, and I'm going to read one of them, that instruct us not to suffice with our external heirs, H-E-I-O-S, not to suffice with our external warase, external heirs, those who inherit from us, your spouse, children, parents, primarily. Don't suffice with them. Having righteous offspring will be of benefit to you, but you, in this world, don't suffice with that you have righteous offspring. Don't suffice with righteous legacies, Bariyatul Salat. These are good, but don't suffice with them. Don't think they're sufficient. Building hospitals is good, building mosques, orphanages, schools, but don't suffice with them. But rather, designate yourself as an heir, as a waris to yourself. Be your own waris. That's the route of action one has to take. Hospitals, righteous legacies, everything, these are all outside you. You shouldn't be attached to them and don't suffice with them. Don't suffice with the external heirs, that they seek your forgiveness, they pray for you, because first of all, they're not aware of the condition you're in Barzakh. They're not aware of the levels of Barzakh. They themselves may be drowned in sin in this world and not even recall you. And how many of you here pray for your great-great-great-grandmother, for example? No one. Don't suffice with the external heirs. Don't suffice with the righteous legacies. That too, the benefit is limited. You build a hospital, one day the hospital will be demolished, activities will end. External heirs and righteous legacies, the benefit, according to this third perspective, is minimal. There is benefit, but there's no spiritual elevation. And I'll explain this in a minute. But the benefit is both minimum and temporary. Don't suffice with these. You be your own waris. And what does this mean in practical terms? According to the third perspective, on death, all your righteous legacies, they may benefit you, but it won't lead to spiritual elevation. You can't elevate from one station to another in Barzakh. The level you acquire in Barzakh is the level that you acquired in this world. You take it with you to Barzakh. There'll be no spiritual elevation. You receive benefit from the external warasa, from the righteous legacies, but the benefit is limited. It's not spiritual elevation. The benefit, according to this perspective, is this: that whatever level you're in Barzakh, and you acquire that level in this world, if you're in one of the levels of hell in Barzakh, and you have righteous legacies, and assuming you did them for Allah's sake, some of the hardships that you'll be having in Barzakh will be eliminated. That's what benefit means. And if you're in a strong position in Barzakh, in one of the levels of heaven in Barzakh, benefit means the provisions you have that are on a par with that level will be increased. But you won't spiritually elevate. It's a matter of your hardships being eliminated, your provisions being increased, depending on where you are. Spiritually, you're at a standstill in Barzakh. You're on that level that you acquired in this world. There's going to be no improvement or elevation. vis-à-vis your faith or spirituality. But to acquire spiritual elevation, to be able to further spiritually elevate yourself in Barzakh, here you have to be your own waris. You have to acquire a status in this world where you become your own waris, your own heir. If you acquire that status, even in Barzakh, you can continue and elevate to higher and higher stations. On the eve of the 15th of Sha'ban, in one of the supplications that can be found in Mafatih al-Janan, the Holy Prophet supplicates as follows: Allahumma amti'ana bi asma'ina wa absarina wa quwwatina ma ahyaytana. O Allah, make us benefit by our hearing, by our seeing, and in general all our different powers. Make us benefit ma ahyaytana, in a manner that you grant life to us. You're already living, but you want to receive a form of life. Waj'alhu, and assign this life warithan minna, as our inheritor, as our warith. This is one of those spectacular points in Shia mysticism. Our du'as in general have a lot of ma'rifah in them. And reciting them in Arabic and whilst not understanding, we're not doing due service to our youth. Make us benefit by means of our hearing, seeing, and in general all powers, in a way that you grant us life. What is this life? And then assign this life as our waris. If you acquire this life in this world, you'll be your own waris in the hereafter. Now, this isn't a case of just not seeing haram, not hearing haram. No, that's the level of taqwa, and that's a minimum. That's a minimum requirement. Most people with taqwa will be in that standstill in Barzakh. They won't be their own waris. This is another form of seeing, another form of hearing. To be granted this hayat, this life, which we'll refer to it in a minute, is called Hayatun Tayyebah, the good life, the pure life. This is much higher than taqwa. Taqwa is a minimum. Taqwa is not a perfection. It's a route to perfection. It's the minimum stage. The stage after taqwa is the stage of the muttaqeen, where taqwa has become incorporated within you, but you're still not your own waris. One scholar said that one of the signs that you've entered the station of muttaqeen, which is higher than just having taqwa, is that you don't even sin in your dreams. And then you go higher and higher. This is something else though. This seeing and hearing is something else. Signs of it are as follows. Whatever input you give, hearing-wise or seeing-wise, whatever you hear, whatever you see, those who have Hayatun Tayyebah, whatever input of sight and hearing occurs, the output is an increase in faith. Your spouse shouts at you, swears at you, your friends at the workhouse, at the workplace, the university, anything. Whatever input you see or hear, the output is just iman increasing higher and higher. Because you're always in the presence of Allah in this station. When we see those traditions that the man kept on swearing at Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The Imam, of course the Imam wouldn't get angry. Of course it's the Imam. Actually, he's increasing in faith. The route to perfection, to Allah is infinite. I mean, everyone improves. No one ever reaches the end. He never gets angry. If at the workplace someone does something, or you fail in relation to something, or your children do something, whatever you see or hear, here, in this case, the result is just this increase in faith. يا أيها الذين آمنوا, chapter 505. يا أيها الذين آمنوا عليكم أنفسكم. Alaykum is a verbal noun in Arabic. It means guard yourselves. Then anfusakum, emphasizing your very selves. Guard yourselves. Explore yourselves within. Preserve yourselves. لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم. He who strays can't hurt you at all, even only if you're guided. No one can hurt you. This is different to taqwa. You can have taqwa but still get hurt, still get angry. So you can assess yourselves in this. From last year, during this year, do you get angry more or do you get angry less? If you get angry less, you're approaching something, inshallah. So those with taqwa, if taqwa is all that you've acquired in this world, you'll most probably be in a state of limbo in barzakh, state of staticity. You're static. And if there are any benefits, it's going to be minimal and temporary. Maybe most people will be experiencing that. And in the Quran, these people are called the mustaz'afun or the mutawassitun. Their saga, their scenario is described in the Holy Quran. But there are exceptions. There are class of people who can elevate in barzakh, and they are those who have entered this realm of Hayatun Tayyebah. And the reasoning behind their potential elevation is this. In this world, they had acquired such a spiritual state that no longer did they need the physical body to elevate themselves. They were independent of the physical body. The Mithali soul was freed. If the Mithali soul is freed, be it in this world or in barzakh, it can continue to elevate. Just because in barzakh there's no physical body, it won't be a barrier to them. They acquired that freedom, and therefore they can elevate in barzakh. And in Islam, this is freedom. This is the meaning of true freedom. We abide by any law, any governmental laws which provide us the means to achieve this freedom. That's what freedom is in Islam. Okay, now let's a number of introductory comments to try and clarify what this Hayatun Tayyebah is, the good life, the pure life. According to the logic of the verses of the Holy Quran, the dead and the living are given a specific definition. It's not the same as the definition that the physicians give. In the Holy Quran, the living person in this world is termed and defined dead, mayyit. Whereas the physically dead person in the Holy Quran, they're regarded as living. And why should the physically dead person be considered living? Chapter 29, 64. وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ. This worldly life is nothing but diversion and amusement. Diversion from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just a game. If you confine yourself to lahwa, to la'ib, to just playing around and being distant from Allah, being distracted from Allah, you're not really living. According to the logic of the Quran, you're a mayyit in this world. What's the proof? The continuation of the verse. وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةِ. Very, the life of the hereafter, the abode of the hereafter, in Barzakh and onwards, لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ. That is living. And the lam is emphasizing this. But that's just an Arabic point. This is true living. Our state in the abode of the hereafter, that's living. لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. If only you knew. If you acquire that state in this world, you'll be regarded living. And we'll speak about the prerequisites in a minute. Chapter 50, verse 22. لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِنْ هَذَا. Verily you were in ignorance in relation to this, in relation to the fact that the living are dead in this world. In the hereafter, you'll be told this. You were ignorant of this. You were oblivious to the fact that the living were dead. مِنْ هَذَا. فَكَشَفْنَا. Then we removed عَنْكَ from you غِطَاءَكَ. We removed your veils. On death, the veils are removed. You should have unveiled them in this world, which you didn't. On death, it will be unveiled for you. فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. Your sight today is iron. Now what they mean by iron is it's penetrating, it's sharp, it's acute. Since the veils have been removed, you see everything in Barzakh. You're in the presence of Allah, you see the angels, you see the imams. On death, you'll be all eyes, all sight, all presence before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The curtains are removed on death. Everything is removed from what you couldn't see is removed. You can see now the reality of all things. You're in the presence of truth. But if you were ignorant of this presence in this world, لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِنْ هَذَا. You're all sight, you're all perception now, you're all presence before the truth. But if you were ignorant of this presence in this world due to lahwa, your distraction from Allah, la'ib, amusement, that means in this world you had no presence, no perception of haqq. On death, Hazrat Israel, the angel of death, alayhi salam, he removed the veils. But that's not an honor anymore. There's no benefit for you. You should have unveiled yourself. You should have removed the curtains in this world to be free in Barzakh. But it's been done for you. It's too late now. You've just woken up. You should have woken up in this world by unveiling that curtain. You should have been in the presence. You should have acquired the presence of Allah and truth in this world to take with you to Barzakh. But you've just woken up on death. You were asleep all this time. A tradition states, النَّاسُ نِيَامٌ. People are all asleep. إِذَا مَاتُوا. When they die, انتهبوا. They only then become awakened. Now after one dies, the consequences of this having been fi ghaflatin is as follows. There's the first thing is your own sight, your own perception, you're in the presence of truth, 100%. But this has no potential for your spiritual growth anymore. I'll explain this with an example in a minute. This unveiling has no benefit to you if you were ignorant of it in this world. Everything is acquired in this world. Don't look for anything in the other world. Although the expression isn't very polite, but since what the scholars in Qur'an said, they said there's no Allah in Barzakh, there's no Allah in Qiyamah. You have to acquire Allah in this world. Don't look for Allah there. Whatever you want to acquire in this world. In Nahj al-Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam said, Inna al-arwaha, very the spirits, murtahinatun bithiqli a'abaiha. The spirits are kidnapped on death. They're captivated by the heaviness of their sins. You're very limited and suppressed in Barzakh. If you were of those who are ignorant of the fact that the living are dead in this world, on death you'll see angels, you'll see the imams, you'll see the prophets, you'll see everything because the veils have been taken away, but you won't benefit from them. If you want to benefit from them, you should acquire that benefit in this world and took it with you there. You see many truths, but it's of no avail now. This unveiling had to occur before death. You take your own stock to Barzakh. Now an example, just to clarify this point, are two students. One usually gets 20 out of 20, one gets 4 out of 20. They work and strive before the examination. They do the examination. Then they're given the results, the answers to the questions. The one who got 4 out of 20 will receive all the answers, will see the truth of those answers, but it will be of no benefit to the person. He got 4 out of 20. But the person who got 20 out of 20 will benefit and continue to go to university and higher and higher and higher. Has to be acquired here though. So who are the dead referring to? I should have been able to convey it. Those who avail from the truth in this world, who don't have that hudur, that presence of Allah, that divine presence in this world, they're dead. And then when the veils are removed on death, one acquires the presence, but it's too late because you've already created your hell. But then you see everything. But if you die in this world, you're physically living, but you die in this world. You unveil the truths in this world. That's a different story. You're in this world, but you're dead. Don't forget, إِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ. You've acquired the hudur in this world. This can be a source of benefit and elevation in the hereafter. And that's the meaning of the tradition. Mutu qabla an tamutu. Die before you die. The first imperative, die, means unveil the curtains before you die the physical death. Find the presence of Allah before you die the physical death. There's one holy tradition from the Holy Prophet who said, if you want to see the dead who are walking amongst us, see Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, because he acquired that presence. That definition of death, according to the Quran, applies because he was in complete presence before Allah. He had unveiled everything in this world. Now pay attention to this verse. You may have read it many times, but you may not focus on this area. Don't forget, we're talking about Hayatun Tayyebah, to be granted the pure life. And we want this to be our waris in the hereafter, so that we can spiritually elevate. Our man kana maytan is the one who's dead. This death is the death in this world, those who are confined to lah and la'ib. Such people, we said according to the Quran, are dead. Our man kana maytan. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ. This is chapter 622. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ. And we granted him life. That Hayatun Tayyebah. The result of which is وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا. Then we assign him with a light. Those who are granted this life are given a light, by means of which يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. By means of which they can walk with the people. They can be with the people. كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا. Are they like those who dwell, they're living, but they're dwelling فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ, in that manifold darkness. They're in lah and la'ib. They haven't unveiled truth. And they can't leave. They're captivated in that realm. Are they alike? Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam said, if the veil of death is taken from me, when he dies, his certitude won't increase a single bit. Because he's unveiled everything in this world. Chapter 1697. Man amila saliha. One who does righteous actions. Min dhakarin aw untha. Be you male or female. On matters of spiritual elevation, there's no bias in Islam. They're equal. The attaining to spiritual perfection, the potential exists in both men and women equally. Because we are immaterial rational spirits. That has no sex or gender, it's something immaterial. Man amila saliha min dhakarin aw untha, be you male or female. Whoever does righteous actions, wa huwa mu'min, and they're believers, فَلْنُحْيَنَّهُ Hayatun Tayyebah. Will most certainly grant them life. What kind of life? The good life. Hayatun Tayyebah. You see, this hayat is important. This is something different to taqwa. This is higher now. I'll explain what amalun salih means. That's not what we think it means, the specific definition. This amal salih has to be done in a specific way to be granted this good life. Chapter 8:24. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillah. Respond to Allah. وَلِلرَّسُولِ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ. And respond to the messenger when he calls you. Calls you to what? لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ. It's all life. يُحْيِيكُمْ. To that which grants you life. It's saying, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They already have taqwa and they're already living. But if you want to be granted life, it's another stage. It's a special form of life. It supersedes taqwa. This is Hayatun Tayyebah. إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ. So, istajibu, respond to Allah and the messenger when he calls upon you. What is the Prophet summoning you towards? Two things. The basis of Iman. Faith in Allah and recalling the hereafter. If these are firm, you've built the basis for this spiritual elevation and movement. The basis for receiving that Hayatun Tayyebah, which was mentioned in 1697, is there. The basis is there. So, man amila saliha, who does righteous actions, is still yet to define what salih means. Min dhakarin aw untha, wa huwa mu'min. He has faith in Allah and recalls the hereafter. فَلْنُحْيِيَنَّهُ. Will most certainly grant them life. What kind of life? Hayatun Tayyebah. Now, what are the prerequisites for righteous actions that we need to do to be granted this life? Otherwise, we all do righteous actions every day. What's the answer? What are those prerequisites for our righteous actions to be truly righteous? And as a result, whilst having faith in Allah and doing that, will be granted Hayatun Tayyebah? The answer, وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانُ. Only one's righteous actions are free, la'ib free, dunya free. When your righteous actions are free from these three, only then it's deemed righteous. Only then you'll be granted that Hayatun Tayyebah. La is a creation of the self. Whatever's on the outside, it's all good. The external world. The external world in Arabic, in the Quran, is always referred to samawat wal ard, not dunya. The dunya is reproached in Islam, but don't translate dunya as the external world. The dunya isn't the external world. The dunya is within. La is within. La'ib is within. Everything is a creation of yourself. Family, children, work, university, eating, drinking, sleeping, combing, bathing, going to the picnic. These are all good. It's your take on your family, your take on your children, your take on power, on prestige, that these false imaginative attributings that you do. This is my child. I raised him up. As if, there's no Allah. You think this is really your child, your property. It's my car, my job, as if you really did something. Allah's out of the equation. Lahwa, diversion. You're just playing around with your imaginative self. It's that take, and the collective sum of these takes, my car, my child, my this, my that, the collective sum is the reproached dunya, but it's within. And in the Quran, when it says your spouses are enemies, your children, your capital, this and other, it's informing us the potential threat to your spiritual downfall, especially is in these things. Because with these things you get diverted from Allah's remembrance, with capital, with children. When you eat, we all eat, drink, sleep, drive, all these actions. If we don't try and insert Allah in the equation, all these actions are just one big game. You're just playing. Life is just one big game. If you want to exit the realm of death, you have to exit the bonds and shackles of lahwa, la'ib, dunya. And this is a function of one's niyyah. You have to work on the niyyah. Otherwise you can do as many actions as you want, but those false, negative attributes that you make for yourself, that has to be corrected. I think I've passed my time. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala ta'ala. If there's no questions, that's something good for me. Yeah, okay. Salawat.
Ahsan, thank you very much. You guys really have no questions? What's the question? Are you going to take questions? Are you tired? if you have questions, I think this is the last night that he's going to be here until the next time. We don't know when. So please come back. Thank you.
صلي على محمد وآل محمد.
This week, our Lord, if someone dies here, what is the best to do? Bury them here, fast, or keep their body to be prepared, or sent to Islamic countries. As you know, preparation takes some days and some body worth, including emptying internal organs and entering chemicals to prevent infection. Although these are where they should be buried, I don't really want to enter that. Wherever you think is best, but maybe it's better to bury them here, maybe. I don't really want to, it's not, there's no wajib thing here. Then what the Imam, what do you suggest? Usually.
Best to bury as soon as possible.
Yes, yes.
And whatever is their wish to be buried, physically, if the body may not be here.
Yeah.
If they want to, if their heart is in Najaf,
Yes.
it will be taken there.
Yes. Thank you very much. But don't think you being buried in Wadi Salam will be of any benefit to you. Don't think you being buried next to the shrine of Hazrat Ma'soomeh will be any benefit. You're burying the corpse. The corpse be it in America or elsewhere. The corpse is the corpse, and it has nothing to do with you. True, the reason why it's mustahab to be buried in those places is because they're attended by so many people who recite Suratul Hamd, Suratul Qadr, and so on and so forth. You'll receive some benefit. The benefit is limited though. You want to be your own waris. Don't suffice with these kind of benefits. The second question, a lot of us are very attached to our material life. But if our goal and prayer is Ilahi habli kamal al-inqita'i ilayk, what should we do in this world to get close to this goal? I think this question was written before the end of my talk. Like the end of my talk did answer this question. Yeah. Okay. How are you?
Very good discussion, very good.
Thank you.
This is the Hayatun Tayyebah that you talked about. Can you elaborate on that point? You just pointed a little bit. What is Hayatun Tayyebah? Can you elaborate, just to make it a little, open it up a little bit?
Yes. What I gave in this 1 hour or so was a condensed form of 4 lectures which I gave in Phoenix. Yes, because it has a lot of introductory, so I didn't do service anyway. This is a very large topic, but I think I've given you the principles of it. I've given you the important parts to it. But if you want me to elaborate, it's another 1 hour discussion. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. The talks on Phoenix will be downloaded, they told me, so you can get it. Sorry.
You spoke about the influences that the living have on the dead and the potentialities for advancement and benefit from our realm to theirs. What does Islam say about the reverse as far as the influences or benefit that the dead can have on the living, if any?
Right, the question was, can the dead have an influence on the living? This is a very good question. If you be your own waris and your spirit is free, do you know in the Holy Quran there's a verse, don't think those who have died in Allah's way are dead, they're living. That living there are those people who have acquired Hayatun Tayyebah, and they have sustenance before Allah, and they have an effect. And the effect they have on the living, the sustenance they can be a root by means of which to send the sustenance, is much more than hospitals, orphanages, and so on and so forth. That's a good point, yes?
I have a few questions, but I want to give you a couple of them.
Sure, yes.
Okay. The first, my question, everybody when get born in this world is going to be masoom.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, if the child of Hindu or Yahud or whatever who not believe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Yes.
become in this world, how they are Muslim too, or either they have any advantage to be practiced in this world to know himself.
Yes.
One or next my question, if you're like first of all, like to give you an example, if I have a parents which is they die about time ago, whatever I do, good things or niya or amal is good for them. If I do bad things, is still they get punished or?
Right, okay. I'll start with the second question, that if your parents, if you do bad deeds, does that lead to a reverse effect on those who have passed away, your parents for example? If your parents were responsible for you doing bad deeds, some parents may educate and bring their children up very well, but the children don't accept the message for whatever reason. That won't be, there will be no reverse effect for the parent, because the parent did abide by their duties in bringing up a child. But if the parents were at fault in bringing the child up, then yes, what applies with the good side applies with the bad side. But concerning the first question with the Hindu or someone who's raised in a non-Muslim family, there, yes, here, in relation to judgment, though we don't know all the details in relation to judgment, but what we do know is that they'll be judged differently. Do you remember the example of the mushrik I gave, who provided refuge to a Muslim, and that led to immense effects in the afterlife for him? Don't think that just because you're a Muslim, you'll be given a higher position than the Hindu. It's very possible that the Hindu, who will be judged in accordance with his own circumstances, will be in a much higher level. It's very possible. These things are very difficult. But yes, the fitra is always there. Everyone has this fitra. The fitra may be veiled, but it never becomes distorted. It never changes. The fitra remains. And that fitra can be a source of differentiating between right, wrong, doing good deeds, and so on and so forth. But you can never change the fitra. You can just veil it. Now the child was born in this environment, it became veiled. He'll be judged in accordance with his own circumstances. And whatever he has, he will be judged in accordance with that. Now there is... Yes, I think that's going to be it. Sorry, sorry, go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can you please elaborate on the death, the concept of death? I'm learning that there are two kind of way of looking at death. One is a negative way of thinking of death. The other one is a positive. The way that you use the concept from the verses of Quran. لقد كنت في غفلة من قبل فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد, was that the death is really a benefit that leaves or removes the veil.
Yes.
It allows you to enter the real hayat.
Yes.
So in that connotation, it's a positive thing.
Yes.
But then from other hand, we have other verses or usage of the word death or amwat that they are really lacking the hayat.
Yes.
That is a negative.
Yes. Yes.
And also, there is a verse of Quran that says that أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ خَرَجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَهُمْ أُلُوفٌ حَذَرَ الْمَوْتِ فَقَالَ لَهُمُ اللَّهُ مُوتُوا ثُمَّ أَحْيَاهُم.
Right.
Can you please elaborate on the concept of death and the hayat a little bit more?
I think you've answered yourself there. Yes. I don't really have anything to add to that. That was a very nice conclusion of many of the points I mentioned. I don't know what to say really. Yes. Yes. But I can say something else on that if you want. Yes. Yes, if you... And you've insist. When we're born, do we have time? Is it okay? This may take 5 to 10 minutes. Yes. When we're born, we're given a potential age span, lifespan. Some are given 500 years, some are given 200, some are given 100, some are given 50. But it's potential. Our actions, our lifestyle can move that potential age up and down. If you sin, this is in relation to Muslims. I'll give you the definition for non-Muslims in a minute. This is for Muslims. If you sin, if you have a negative lifestyle, that will decrease that lifespan. I'll come back to this in a minute. Natural death, philosophically, is defined as the exiting of the soul from the body. Not the body dying and then the soul exiting. The soul has reached such a state of perfection that it no longer needs a body. The body will be of no benefit to the soul elevation-wise. So the soul exits the body, and that's the philosophical definition of death. Only a minority of people have this natural death. And primarily the Imams, the Prophets. The majority of people have this other form of death, which is not natural, it's forced upon. Either you were killed, you had a negative lifestyle, you sinned a lot, and that limited you. You forced the soul out. That's not natural death, though. Those with natural death will reach that potential, that maximum. And then when they can't benefit or elevate further, this body has no use for them, they exit. With the non-Muslims, they also have natural death, but in this way, that due to the vice, the evil they've accumulated, they can't do any bad anymore, more bad, with this body that they have, and they exit the body. That's natural death for the non-Muslims, or for the atheists rather. They can't do, they're perfect now in evil, they exit. In relation to the forced death, sinning won't affect them, their lifestyle, until they become believers. But the lifestyle they have and other things, that can limit their death. I just thought to add that, or something on death, since you insisted so much. Yeah. But otherwise, what you said, I think I don't have much to elaborate. I think what you said was what I intended, but you said in a more eloquent way. Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I have two questions.
Sure. Yeah.
The first question is that Shuhada will receive spiritual elevation,
Yes. Yes.
And the second question is that could you outline or give us an outline of how a person could reach that Hayatun Tayyebah?
Yeah. Well, yes, your first comment, the Shuhada can have that elevation, and I think I did mention that. In the Holy Quran, don't think those who were slain in Allah's way, who were killed, fi sabilillah, qutilu fi sabilillah, don't think they're dead, they're alive. Not everyone who dies in wars, those who become a martyr in the fiqhi sense, not all of them have this Hayatun Tayyebah. For example, in the Iran-Iraq war, we gave maybe 200,000 or 300,000. Not all of them had this Hayatun Tayyebah. Not all of them acquired that spiritual status. Just because you were killed in the battlefield, you're a martyr from a fiqhi point of view. But only if you became a martyr accompanied by that spiritual elevation that made you war, only then you will be granted. So it's not the case that all the Shuhada will have them. As long as they acquired that Hayatun Tayyebah here, that life here, they would be free. Now, how to acquire it? Man amila saliha. What is righteous actions? Min ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن. Whilst being a mu'min. Whoever does righteous actions whilst being a mu'min. Mu'min faith here is faith in Allah and recalling ma'ad. Recalling ma'ad is something very important. Maybe inshallah another time. The benefits of recalling ma'ad, and there are so many shari'i rulings where the rationale behind these rulings is only for you to recall ma'ad, the hereafter. If you do righteous actions whilst having iman, فَلْنُحْيَنَّهُ Hayatun Tayyebah. If that righteous action is laugh-free, there's no laugh, there's no la'ib, there's no dunya, and I explain what that meant, then your actions are truly righteous. When annexed to iman, وَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, then you will be granted Hayatun Tayyebah. The secret is to eliminate all traces of la'ib and dunya. And all these are inside. Nothing is outside. Okay, with your permission, we'll end there.